So okay guys, today I'm going to be teaching you how to soft mod just about any PS1 using a tool called Tonyhacks. Now with that said, Tonyhacks isn't perfect. We're going to need an exploitable game in order for this to work, and we're also going to need a memory card that we can copy a modified game save to. Now going about copying a modified save to a memory card can be done in multiple ways. I'm going to be using a modified Ps2 to get this task done. However, there are various tools and converters online to adapt a PS1 memory card to USB for use on the computer. There's also available online memory cards pre-formatted and set up with Tonyhacks if you just wish to get one of those. However, since I'm going about this using a Ps2 and assuming that you guys maybe already have a modified Ps2, we're going to continue on with the guide as such. So to get our PS1 soft modded, we're first of all going to have to head over to the site that hosts Tonyhacks. We're going to then need to download the zip file, and from here, we will be left with a ton of files. A lot of these files are for the other methods of getting Tonyhacks set up. However, all we're going to need are the game save files and the actual Tonyhawk file, or Tonyhacks file I should say itself. In my particular case, I'm using Cool Borders 4. They list the game saves via their region code, so you will have to match up and see if you have that certain exploitable game, and if you do, make sure you copy that exploitable game save over to a USB flash drive. Make sure the flash drive is FAT32, since that's the only thing a PS2 Slim is capable of reading, is FAT and FAT32. Once you got your modified game save on, make sure you also have the modified Tonyhacks file on the USB as well. If everything is done correctly, you should only have 2 files. Now from here, we can plug in this USB into our modified PS2, as well as our memory card for the PS1 itself into slot 2 of our PS2. Now from here, we want to boot into uLaunch Elf. You will need a specific version of uLaunch Elf because the newest version as of right now is actually broken. It won't let you copy modified saves to a PS1 memory card. So if you run into issues here in a bit where your saves won't copy over, make sure to downgrade the uLaunch Elf to an appropriate version. I'll have the version that I'm using up on screen. But yeah, you want to navigate in uLaunch Elf to your mass storage device, select both the files and copy them. Now from here, we want to go over to our PS1 memory card, which should be located on MC1 if I remember correctly. Now once you navigated into the PS1 memory card, you want to paste these files. I recommend doing a memory card paste, not just a normal paste, as to prevent less corruption to these files. Because any corruption to these files will hinder the performance of Tonyhacks later on. Anyway, once we got our files pasted over to our memory card, the hard part is pretty much done. We can now turn off our PS2, pull out the PS1 memory card, plug it into our PS1, and you may be thinking I'm gonna say start up our game. No, I'm gonna say take any games out, start up the PS1, and check the memory card. Make sure you only have those 2 files that we just put on the memory card. If you happen to have any other saves, it's okay, those are fine. I would recommend, however, starting from a clean slate. But if you see the Tonyhacks file as well as the modified game save file on our memory card, you're pretty much good to go. Turn off your PS1, put in the game, turn it back on, and let the game boot up. From here, it's going to vary on which game you chose and what way it's exploited. For the most part, this exploit works on taking advantage of input text fields, so wherever you would normally input text in this particular game is probably the way or the method used to exploit the mod itself on the game card. Or the memory card, I should say. In my particular case with Cool Borders 4, all I had to do was click on New Game and it started the hack right up. But if you're using something like Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2, you would want to go into the character creator. Now that's just about all the advice I could give you on that front. You will have to navigate and look around and see what will trigger the exploit for you. But once you triggered the exploit, the screen should flash blue, and if it flashes blue, it indicated everything is working correctly. If you see any other colors, I recommend reformatting and setting it all up again. However, for posterity's sake, I will put the color codes for these errors on screen just so you know what they are. Anyway, once the colors flash and the actual loader itself opens up, it will then tell you to put in a different DVD, or I should say CD. Now this CD can be any burned backup of your choosing, or it can be a game from any region. For my particular test, I decided to boot into Ps1. This is a Japanese game that wouldn't work on a US console from what I can understand. As you can see, it just boots up and works as if it's just any other game. However, if you happen to run into any issues at this step, check your DVD. If it's saying retrying, chances are the DVD is actually just dirty and all it needed was to be cleaned. In my case of Ps1, this happened to me, and for a minute I thought maybe my game saves were corrupted, but no, it was just my disc. Just be sure to make sure your disc is clean, put it in, and it should boot up as if it was just any other hard-modded PS1. And speaking of hard-modding the PS1, why not go about that method, you may be asking? Well, for the most part, a lot of people may not want to open up their PS1, but they want to play burned backups or games from another region. With this, you'll be able to, without actually taking the console apart, thus injuring, or I shouldn't say injuring, well, you could injure yourself. What I should be saying is hurting the resale value of the PS1. So you can play on a modified PS1, and when you're done, just erase the memory card if you want to go back to stock, and your PS1 is pretty much back to a stock PS1. Overall, it's a pretty cool hack and a nice welcomed one at that. I'm glad something like this came out in 2021. However, I did wish it would have came out a lot sooner because I definitely loved the PS1. And if I knew about this back then, I probably would have picked one up right away. But yeah, with that said, before I end this video off, I'm gonna actually explain a couple more things before I go. The memory card itself, you can either format it and delete the saves and your PS1 goes back to default. However, if you wish to clone this memory card, you can copy its saves directly on the PS1 to another memory card plugged into slot 2 on your PS1 without needing to go through the same steps that we did before. So you can just needlessly, let's say, create a dozen or so exploitable memory cards if you wanted to for your friends. But yeah, that's just about the only other tip I can give you. If everything was done successfully, your PS1 should boot up, and if you happen to run into any problems, as always, I will help you out down below in the comments. Just be sure to leave a comment, and I will get back to you. And doubly, as always, I will also leave links to everything in the description that you will need to get all this done. I also recommend checking out the exploitable game page because they add more on the daily. Basically, any game with an input field that can be overflown should be added to this list at some point or another. But yeah, for the most part, I'm gonna leave this off here now. TTPK signing off. Peace. 44 pins is not accepted on the standard PlayStation 2 network adapter. The standard PlayStation to make the platform a little bit bigger, and there you go. We got a floor we can stand on.